Welcome to Daily English with Subtitles. Before we dive into today's story, please take just a few seconds to hit that subscribe button. It may be small for you, but it means the world to me. Thank you so much. Now, let's get started. I always knew deep down that Alex was only with me because of a bet. A stupid game he and his friends played one night. They bet that if I ever got dumped, I'd completely lose control the moment Alex came close to me. And the sad part? I walked right into that trap. I let myself get swallowed by that relationship, just so I could finally live out a dream I'd been holding on to for 3 long years. The dream of being with Alex, even if it wasn't real. But when the day finally came, when Alex was supposed to end it all and collect on that bet, I did something none of them expected. I ended things first. I looked him right in the eye, told him we were done, and walked away. No hesitation. No looking back. Later that night, people whispered about a man who went crazy at the airport, a man who charged past security, trying to stop someone from boarding a flight overseas. 6 years passed before I learned the truth. That crazy guy? It was Alex. The same arrogant, proud man I thought I'd left behind. He had been searching for me for 6 years. The rain fell in heavy sheets, soaking the forest and filling the air with mist so thick you could barely see through it. The trees around me looked ghostly, like something straight out of a horror movie. My ankle throbbed with pain as I leaned against a large rock, trying to catch my breath. I'd joined a research team on a mountain expedition, but somehow I'd gotten separated from the group. Now I was lost in this endless wilderness, the kind of place where people vanish and are never found again. But I wasn't completely hopeless. One of the first survival lessons they drilled into us before we set out was how to navigate in the woods. If you looked closely, the trees told you everything. On the south side, sunlight hit harder, so the branches and leaves grew thicker. South meant safety. South meant camp. I just had one problem, my ankle. It was swollen, twisted from slipping earlier, and every step was agony. I knew I'd make it back eventually, but it would take a long time. That's when I heard it. A voice. It called my name from above, slicing through the silence of the forest. For a second, I froze. Not because I was scared, but because that voice sounded so painfully familiar. It sounded like Alex, but Alex was supposed to be thousands of miles away. He had told me he was in Hong Kong for work. There was no way he could be here. Still, instinct took over. I grabbed the heavy-duty flashlight from my backpack and shouted back, "I'm here, over here." The light cut through the mist, and soon I saw a shadow moving quickly down toward me. And then, clear as day, I saw his face. It really was Alex. My throat tightened, my eyes stung, and all the emotions I'd tried to bury for years came flooding back at once. He didn't even hesitate. He practically threw himself down the muddy slope, sliding recklessly, dirt splashing everywhere just to get to me. "Careful," I shouted, panic rising in my chest. He ignored me, of course. When he reached me, he dropped to one knee and gently touched my swollen ankle. His eyes, sharp and confident as always, were now filled with worry. "You're hurt," he whispered, wiping away the tears I hadn't even realized were rolling down my face. "Don't be scared. I'm here now." I pressed my hand against his, clinging to the warmth of his palm. I didn't dare admit that I wasn't crying, because I was scared. I was crying because I was overwhelmed. "Why are you here, Alex?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Didn't you say you were working in Hong Kong?" He gave me a small smile, almost sheepish. "I lied. I wanted to surprise you. Then I heard you might be stuck in the mountains and I couldn't just sit there." The storm eased as suddenly as it had started. Within minutes, the sky cleared, leaving behind a crisp, chilly silence. Alex lifted me onto his back, carrying me as though I weighed nothing, and together, following my directions, He carried me all the way back to camp. When we finally arrived, the rest of the team let out sighs of relief. One of the older researchers shook her head with a teasing smile. "Your boyfriend is unbelievable. We told him to wait a little before rushing in, but he wouldn't listen. He just ran straight into the mountains. Nothing we said could stop him." My cheeks burned. I tugged at Alex's ear, scolding, "You're so stubborn. That was dangerous, you know." The truth was, our team was made up of trained professionals. We had the equipment and the knowledge to handle rough terrain. The area we were in, though rugged, wasn't even considered life-threatening. If the whole team had gone searching, it might have caused more accidents. But Alex just shook his head, smiling softly, and brushed his nose against mine. "I couldn't stand the thought of you being alone out here. Don't ask me to stay still and do nothing. I just can't." My heart skipped a beat. One of my teammates let out a dramatic groan. "Okay, that's enough. You two are laying it on so thick, it's making me cold out here." She pointed her camera at us. "Romance in the wilderness, huh?" What a story. Mortified, I covered the lens with my hand. "Stop filming already." Later that night, after we'd changed into dry clothes, the team gathered around steaming bowls of mushroom soup. I looked around for Alex, but he was gone. "Hey," I asked one of the girls, "did you see where Alex went?" She pointed toward the bamboo grove. "He took a call and walked that way." I thanked her and headed in that direction. Sure enough, I found him standing with his back to me, phone lowered at his side. His voice, low and sharp, drifted toward me before I could call out. You should have seen her face. She looked so touched, like she'd give herself to me right then and there. Another voice, muffled but clear enough, replied, "Don't get soft now. Wait until you break up with her. Then you'll see her fall apart for real. That's when it'll hit her." Alex chuckled, his tone light but cruel. 1 month wouldn't be enough for that. No, if we're playing all the way. Whether it's 1 month or 3, it doesn't matter. Either way, she'll break. The words cut through me like ice water poured straight down my spine. My whole body went cold, trembling as if I'd been struck. Because in that moment, I remembered the truth. This was never love. This was always just a bet. I had known it all along. From the very beginning, I knew Alex's attention wasn't real. It was nothing but a game. But somewhere along the way, I let myself believe otherwise. I wanted so badly to think I could turn something fake into something real, that maybe if I gave him my full heart, he would eventually give me his. Foolish. That's what I was. I first met Alex during a joint project between our departments in college. He was studying architecture while I majored in landscape design. From the first day I saw him, leaning casually over blueprints, his dark hair falling across his forehead, I was done for. I wasn't outgoing. In fact, most people called me cold, reserved, even arrogant. My roommates used to tease me about being the ice queen. But when it came to Alex, my walls cracked, my face would flush, my words would stumble. Everybody knew I had a crush on him. Everybody, except him. Or maybe he did know, but he just didn't care. Either way, I never dared confess. For 3 years, I kept my feelings locked inside, watching him from a distance. 3 months before graduation, our joint project wrapped up. There was a small celebration, with students from both departments gathering together. I remember standing on the balcony, letting the wind cool my face, and glancing down into the courtyard below. There he was, Alex, lounging in a chair with his friends, his phone in hand, looking completely uninterested in the party around him. I couldn't take my eyes off him. Then I heard my name. "Hey, Alex, did you hear? That girl from landscape design, Jane." "Yes, that's me. Jane." She rejected some guy who tried to confess to her. Cold as ice, man. But around you, she's soft, like a lily in spring. My cheeks burned. They were talking about me openly, right in front of him. Another friend laughed. Seriously, everybody knows she's into you? Don't tell me you've never noticed. Alex didn't even look up from his phone. He just scoffed. Boring. She's so dull she puts me to sleep. Their laughter rang in my ears, cruel and sharp. But then Alex added, almost lazily, still, I do wonder, what would it take for her to lose that icy control? To stop acting like some goddess and finally break? The words stung. Another friend leaned closer, eyes sparkling with mischief. Why don't you find out? Date her for a month, then dump her. Let's see how long it takes before she cracks. That's how it began. Alex didn't even answer at first, but when their childhood friend Lisa, everyone assumed she and Alex were destined to be together, shrugged and said, why not? Give it a try. It could be fun. Alex finally lifted his eyes from his phone, and in less than 5 minutes, the bet was made. I wish I could say I stormed off, confronted him, demanded respect. But no, I just stood there frozen, heart pounding. Later that night, Alex came up behind me and confessed. His words were smooth, practiced, almost too perfect. I should have known they weren't real, but my heart betrayed me. I couldn't resist. I said yes. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was desperation. Or maybe it was the hope that if I gave him this chance, he'd see the real me, that my sincerity would change him. So I agreed to his 1-month trial. Those weeks were like living in a dream. We walked hand in hand through the city streets, went on late-night food runs, watched movies together. To anyone looking from the outside, we were just another couple in love. But I knew the truth. Most of the affection came from me. If I wanted to hold hands, I had to reach first. If I wanted a hug, I had to ask. Even our first kiss wasn't really a kiss. When I leaned in, he tilted his head, letting my lips graze the corner of his mouth. Still, I convinced myself it meant something. And then, something strange happened. As weeks passed, Alex began to change. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, he started reaching for my hand first when we crossed the street. He smiled, real, unguarded smiles, when I snapped candid photos of him. He wrapped his jacket around my shoulders when the night grew cold. Once, he even kissed me, without hesitation, under the soft glow of streetlights. And when he took me on his beloved motorcycle, his pride and joy, he slowed down to a crawl, far slower than his usual reckless speed, because he saw fear in my eyes. He didn't laugh at me for being scared. He adjusted for me. 1 month turned into 2, then 3, and I let myself believe. I let myself believe his bet had turned into something real. Jane, isn't your boyfriend calling you for dinner? My teammate asked one night during the expedition. I lowered my eyes quickly so she wouldn't see the tears gathering there. He's on the phone, probably busy with work. She sighed wistfully. You're lucky. He makes time for you no matter what, not like my husband. He's out at sea, I'm stuck on this mountain, and we barely see each other once a year. Her words made my chest tighten with guilt, because just days earlier, I'd received an invitation that could change my entire future. A job offer from the Herb Art Institute in Italy, one of the most prestigious garden museums in the world. A dream opportunity. And yet, I hesitated. Why? Because of Alex. That same night, on my birthday, Alex gave me a gift. A star, officially registered in my name. He told me, no matter where you go, when you look up at the sky, I'll be there. My heart melted, and so I stayed. I hesitated, stalled, convinced myself I couldn't leave him behind. But that hesitation, It was the beginning of tragedy. Back at camp, after Alex carried me from the forest, I walked toward the bamboo grove where he stood on the phone. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but his words hit me like bullets. "She's so touched. You should have seen her. It's almost too easy. But if we're going to play this game, we play it right. 1 month? Please. 3 months. 6 months, it doesn't matter. Either way, she'll break." My blood ran cold. I wanted to scream, to confront him, to demand why. But all I did was stand there, my chest rising and falling, my breath shallow, as the truth I'd buried deep came rushing back. This wasn't love. It never had been. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. I should have walked away right then. I should have confronted Alex under those bamboo trees and demanded answers. But instead, I froze. My heart wanted so badly to deny it, to cling to the little moments when he seemed real, the way his lips curved into a smile when he thought I wasn't looking, the way he carried me through the forest as if nothing else mattered. But I couldn't deny what I heard. I was just a bet. My memory drifted back to that night 3 months earlier, the night it all began. We had just finished our joint project. Graduation was coming. Everyone was celebrating. I stood quietly on the balcony of the second floor, the cool night air brushing against my face while my eyes searched the crowd below. And there he was, Alex, slouched on a chair with his phone, looking like the world bored him. His friend Drew leaned forward with a smirk. "Alex, you hear the news? That guy, Mark, the one who lost to you in arm wrestling last month? Yeah, he tried to confess to Jane. She shot him down cold." My stomach tightened. Drew kept going, laughing. "But here's the thing. She's icy with everyone else, but with you? She's soft. You've noticed, right? Everyone's noticed." Another friend, Ryan, clicked his tongue. "Man, she's clearly into you. Don't tell me you really don't care." Alex barely raised his eyes from his phone. He let out a scoff. "She's dull. Puts me to sleep." Their laughter stung more than I'd like to admit. But then Alex added, voice low, almost thoughtful, "Still, I wonder what it would take for her to lose control, to stop acting like she's untouchable. That would be interesting." The guys roared with laughter, and Drew leaned in, grinning. "Here's an idea. Date her for a month. Dump her. See what happens. I bet she'll crack. I'll even sweeten the deal. If you do it, I'll sell you my limited edition Kawasaki at the price you wanted." At that, Alex finally lifted his gaze. For the first time, he looked interested. And then Lisa, his childhood friend, the girl everyone assumed would end up with him, walked over. Her long hair fell perfectly over her shoulders as she smirked. "Why not? Try it. Who knows? Maybe you'll actually like her." Alex leaned back in his chair, considered it for a moment, and then stood. "Fine. Deal." That was it. Just like that, my 3-year crush turned into a game. And I said yes. Looking back, I don't even know why. Maybe I was stubborn. Maybe I was desperate. Maybe I thought if I stepped into this gamble, I could twist the ending. So I agreed. At first, it was exactly what I expected. Shallow. Most of the affection came from me. I reached for his hand. I leaned in for hugs. I kissed him first, but slowly. So slowly I barely noticed, he began to change. He started grabbing my hand before I reached for his. He smiled more often, softer, like he wasn't pretending. He kissed me, unprompted, under the streetlights. One night, he drove me on his motorcycle. I held on tight, terrified of the speed. He noticed. Without a word, he slowed down until the others on the track zoomed past. Little things, small gestures, enough to convince me I was special, enough to make me believe I was winning. I thought love could rewrite the rules. I thought if I gave him everything, He would change. But love can't fix a bet. Love can't turn a game into something real. At least, not when only one person is playing. Graduation came and went. Invitations rolled in. One stood out above all: the Herb Art Institute in Italy. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A chance to work among the world's greatest landscape designers. And yet, I hesitated because of Alex. That same week, on my birthday, he gave me a star, registered in my name. He smiled and said, "No matter where you go, when you look at the night sky, I'll be there." My heart melted. I told myself I couldn't leave him. Not when he was finally opening up. Not when it seemed like he was starting to love me back. But now, standing in the shadows of that bamboo grove, hearing him laugh about how easy it was to fool me, all of it shattered. Later, at one of his architectural events, I walked beside him holding his hand. The room went quiet when we entered. His friends, Drew, Ryan, Lisa, were all there. Some smiled mockingly. Others smirked knowingly. "Look at that," Drew laughed. "Alex actually brought his girl. No wonder you skipped the gala. Too busy with your girlfriend, huh?" Everyone laughed, but beneath it, I heard the cruelty. Lisa's eyes were sharp, full of something I couldn't quite name. Jealousy, maybe, or triumph. For the first time, I wondered if she had been part of this game all along. That night, doubt gnawed at me. I couldn't ignore it anymore. So I made a decision. I accepted the offer from the Herb Art Institute. I didn't tell Alex, not yet. But deep inside, I knew I couldn't stay. 2 nights later, Alex came to me with a steaming cup of ginger tea. He pressed it into my hands gently. "Drink this. You'll catch a cold otherwise." He nestled close, his face buried against my neck. My laptop screen glowed with the words, "Email sent successfully." I had just confirmed my acceptance to Italy. My heart raced, but Alex didn't notice. Instead, he whispered, "There's a project opening soon. It means everything to me. Come to the opening ceremony, okay? I want you there." His eyes looked so genuine, so soft, that for a fleeting second, I almost told him. I almost confessed that I was leaving, but I didn't. And that silence became another wedge between us. At the ceremony, Alex shined. He was the lead architect, the star of the show. Everyone admired him. Everyone praised him. I stood by his side, smiling politely, but I couldn't ignore the whispers, the sidelong glances, the laughter half hidden behind glasses of wine. Lisa slipped through the crowd like she owned the place. She smiled sweetly at me, but her words were daggers. "Jane, isn't it funny? 6 years ago, Alex could barely say happy birthday without cringing. And now, he's feeding you sweet words? Oh, please, he doesn't talk like that." I said nothing. I only smiled. Then, calmly, I pulled out my phone and played a video. A recording from the night Alex carried me through the forest, his voice tender and full of worry. "Just the thought of you alone out there," his voice echoed from the phone. I couldn't stand it. Don't ask me to do nothing. I couldn't. The room went silent. Some people gasped, others stared. Even Lisa's smile cracked. For a moment, Alex's mask slipped, and everyone saw him not as the cold, untouchable genius, but as a man who cared for me. And for one fragile second, I let myself believe it again. But then I remembered the bet, the laughter, the cruel words whispered under bamboo trees. And I realized, even if Alex had changed, even if part of him cared, I couldn't trust him anymore. Because love that begins as a lie will always leave scars. After the ceremony, I told myself I'd talk to him. I'd tell Alex about Italy, about my decision to leave. I wanted to see his reaction, whether he'd try to stop me or if he'd just let me walk away. But that night, before I could say a word, I overheard another conversation. Alex was with Drew and Lisa. "Why'd you tell her about your injury?" Drew asked, his tone annoyed. "What? You wanted her to feel bad for you?" "Come on, man, don't tell me you're catching feelings for real." Lisa's voice followed, soft but sharp, dripping with something I couldn't quite name. "Exactly. You weren't supposed to actually care. You're making yourself look weak." Alex stayed quiet for a long time. Then finally I heard him mutter, "It doesn't matter. I'll end it soon." Lisa's laugh was cold. "End it on my birthday then. Do it in front of me. Think of it as my gift." Drew snorted. "Yeah, she'll fall apart, just like we planned." I pressed my hand against the wall, my breath shallow. So it wasn't over. It never was. No matter what little kindnesses he'd shown, no matter the warmth I thought I saw in his eyes, it was all part of the game. I felt like a fool. The day of Lisa's birthday arrived. By then, I had already made my choice. While Alex was busy with his work, I packed my bags. My visa had come through faster than expected, and the Herb Institute arranged my flight. When I got the notification that my ticket was confirmed for the same day as Lisa's birthday party, I almost laughed. Perfect. The timing couldn't have been more poetic. At the airport, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from Alex flooded my screen. "Where are you? We need to talk." "Don't do this, Jane." I turned it off. As I approached security, chaos suddenly erupted at the far end of the hall. Shouts, guards running, people gasping. Someone had broken through security, trying to force their way into the departure gates. I didn't stop to look. I boarded my flight. Hours later, on the plane, I overheard passengers whispering. Some crazy guy tried to storm the gates. He was screaming about stopping someone from leaving. Security dragged him off. I stared out the window into the dark sky. For a fleeting second, a thought crossed my mind. Could it have been Alex? I shook it off. No. Alex was proud, arrogant, untouchable. He would never humiliate himself like that, especially not for me. Or so I thought. Italy was beautiful, warm sunsets, blooming gardens, ancient stone paths that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. I threw myself into my work, determined to bury the memories of Alex under soil and flowers. Amelia, one of my colleagues, became my closest friend. She teased me often about my lack of interest in men. 6 years, Jane. 6 years, and you've never dated anyone else. Don't you ever get lonely? I forced a smile. I care more about why my bird of paradise plants won't bloom. She rolled her eyes. One day you'll wake up and realize you've wasted your youth talking to plants instead of people. I laughed it off, but inside, her words struck a chord. Maybe I was lonely, but loneliness was safer than betrayal. Then one evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the gardens gold, a security guard came rushing toward me. Jane, he said breathlessly, there's a man outside, a Chinese man. He doesn't speak Italian. Can you talk to him? I frowned. This late? The museum is closed. He nodded. I tried to tell him, but he won't leave. Curiosity tugged at me. I wiped my hands on my apron and headed toward the gate. The hallway stretched long and narrow. Halfway down, I slowed, because I knew that silhouette. I knew that broad frame, that stubborn way of standing. Even after 6 years, I recognized him instantly. Alex. My instinct screamed at me to turn and run, but before I could, he turned. Our eyes met, and just like that, 6 years collapsed into nothing. I spun on my heel, my heart hammering, but his footsteps pounded behind me. Within seconds, his hand caught my wrist, pulling me back into his arms. Jane, he breathed, his voice breaking. Why did you leave? Why didn't you say goodbye? I shoved against his chest, panic rising. Let me go. But his grip only tightened. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? 6 years, Jane. 6 years. His eyes burned with something between anger and desperation. For a moment, I almost laughed. Because wasn't it ironic? The man who once played with my heart as a bet now looked at me as if I were the only thing that mattered. It was almost funny. Almost. But not enough to make me forget. The museum director appeared, confused, asking what was going on. Alex released me reluctantly, forcing a smile as he explained he was here for a project meeting. I stood there trembling, my wrist still tingling from his grip. From that moment on, I knew my life was about to get complicated again. The next few days were a blur. Alex had been hired for a massive villa project in the mountains, and the museum wanted me to help design the gardens, which meant I had to work with him. We tried to keep it professional, but late nights poring over blueprints, long walks through the gardens, the way his eyes softened whenever I spoke, it all felt too familiar, too dangerous. And one evening, as we passed a bed of bird of paradise flowers, Alex stopped. Do you remember? He asked softly. I froze. Of course I remembered. 6 years ago, we had stumbled upon the same flowers blooming unexpectedly in our hometown, rare and vibrant. I had told him the legend, that they symbolized eternal love, freedom, and joy. He had smiled and said, "Then we'll plant them in our future home." Back then, those words made my heart soar. Now they just made it ache. Alex turned to me, his voice hoarse. Jane, I've looked everywhere. Any place that had these flowers, I went, just hoping to find you. Just hoping. His words trailed off, but the pain in his eyes said everything. And for the first time, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, the bet had stopped being a game for him. But it didn't matter, because even if his feelings were real now, they had started with a lie. And I couldn't forgive that. Working alongside Alex felt like walking a tightrope. Every day I told myself to focus on the blueprints, the soil samples, the planting schedules. And every day I caught him watching me, his gaze heavy with things left unsaid. He tried to act professional, but whenever we were alone, the mask slipped. Like the night I twisted my ankle while walking across the stone path. I tried to hide the pain, brushing it off as nothing, but Alex was already at my side. His hands hovered near me, trembling, as if he was afraid to touch and afraid not to. "You're hurt?" he whispered, voice taut with worry. "It's fine," I said, trying to pull away, but he wouldn't let go. "No, it's not fine. I can't." His voice cracked and he stopped himself. The silence stretched between us, filled only with the chirping of night insects and the faint rustle of leaves. For a moment, it felt like 6 years hadn't passed, like we were back on that mountain, him carrying me through the mist, me foolishly believing it was love. And that terrified me. I started noticing things. The way Lisa, yes, she was still around, kept inserting herself into his life, calling him late at night, making excuses to drop by the site, smiling sweetly while her eyes glared daggers at me. It was like no time had passed at all. Once, when Alex stepped away for a call, Lisa leaned close to me, her perfume sharp and cloying. "You know he never loved you, right?" she murmured. "Back then, you were just a bet. And now, you're just an inconvenience." I met her gaze calmly. "If that's true, then why are you so scared of me being here?" Her smile faltered for just a second. Then she straightened, mask slipping back into place. "You'll see soon enough. People like you never last." Her words haunted me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, staring at the city lights, and thought about everything I had endured. The betrayal, the humiliation, the pain of loving someone who saw me as a game, and yet, here I was again, caught in his orbit. Why? Because no matter how much I wanted to deny it, part of me still loved him, and I hated myself for it. One evening, during a team dinner, I noticed Alex limping slightly. "Are you hurt?" I asked, frowning. He brushed it off. "It's nothing, just a scratch." But Drew, sitting across the table, snorted. "A scratch? The guy's leg looks like it got shredded by barbed wire. He's been hiding it all day." Before Alex could stop him, Drew yanked up his pant leg. My breath caught. The wound was raw, red, and ugly, already starting to fester. "What were you thinking?" I snapped. "Why didn't you treat it properly?" Alex looked embarrassed, almost boyish, as he mumbled, "I didn't want you to worry." I clenched my fists, torn between anger and something softer. He could pretend all he wanted, but his actions betrayed him. And in that moment, I realized something painful. No matter how much I tried to bury it, I still cared. But caring was dangerous, because the more I cared, the easier it was for him to hurt me again. The breaking point came a week later. Lisa cornered me in the greenhouse, her voice low and venomous. "Do you know why he dated you in the first place?" she asked. "It wasn't because of love. It was because he was angry with me. You were a distraction, a way for him to win." Her words pierced me like knives, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. I smiled, steady and cold. "If that's true, then what does it say about you?" 6 years, Lisa. 6 years by his side, and you're still threatened by me. Her face twisted. For a moment, I saw the mask slip completely, revealing the bitterness underneath. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I didn't regret it, but I did start to worry, because a few days later, while inspecting one of the planning areas, I felt a sudden sting on my ankle. I looked down and froze. 2 small puncture marks. Snake bite. Panic surged through me as the area around the bite began to swell. My vision blurred. "Help!" I shouted, my voice cracking. A coworker rushed over, but before he could reach me, Alex was already there. He scooped me into his arms, his face pale with terror. "Hold on," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Don't you dare leave me. Not again." I barely registered his words as the world tilted around me, but I felt the way his hands shook, the way his heartbeat pounded wildly against my back. For once, there was no mask, no game, just raw, desperate fear. At the hospital, doctors confirmed the venom wasn't deadly, but I needed treatment immediately. When I woke, Alex was slumped in the chair beside my bed, his head in his hands. I stared at him, torn between anger and something dangerously close to forgiveness. Because for the first time, I saw him not as the arrogant man who had once destroyed me, but as someone broken. Later, I learned the truth. That snake shouldn't have been there. It wasn't native to the area. And I remembered what Lisa had once bragged about, her hobby of keeping exotic pets. The realization made my blood run cold. Had she done this? Had she actually put my life at risk? When I confronted her, she laughed, not even ashamed. "It was just a warning. Next time, I won't miss." I recorded everything. The police took her away. For once, it wasn't me who lost. But even with Lisa gone, Alex remained. And so did my feelings. That was the real danger. Because I knew that as long as he was near, I could never truly escape. Lisa was gone. The police escorted her away, and just like that, one piece of the nightmare was over. But the real problem still stood in front of me. Alex. Even without Lisa whispering poison in his ear, Alex remained a danger, not to my body, but to my heart. After the snakebite incident, he refused to leave my side. Every morning, he checked on me. Every evening, he walked me back to my apartment, carrying my bags like he had something to prove. His eyes followed me everywhere, filled with guilt, longing, and something dangerously close to love. It should have felt comforting, but instead, It suffocated me because I knew if I let him stay close, I would start to believe him again. One night, as we reviewed plans in the office, the room was quiet except for the rustling of papers. "Jane," he said suddenly, his voice low, almost hesitant, "why won't you believe me? Why won't you believe that I'm not playing games anymore?" I looked up slowly, meeting his eyes. "Because you already played. And once you turn love into a game, there's no reset button." He flinched, but didn't look away. "I was wrong. I admit it. But I changed. Doesn't that matter?" My chest tightened, but I forced myself to stay firm. "Maybe it matters for you. But for me? The damage was done years ago." Silence fell, his hands curled into fists, resting on the table as if he was fighting to hold himself together. For the first time, I saw him speechless. The next weeks blurred together. The project pressed on. Deadlines, inspections, site visits. Outwardly, everything ran smoothly. But inwardly, I was unraveling. Because no matter how much I pushed Alex away, he found ways to seep back in. When I worked late, he showed up with food. When I tripped on uneven ground, he caught me before I fell. When I grew tired, he silently handed me coffee, never asking for thanks. And every time, I felt myself weaken just a little more. Then came the night of the storm. The sky cracked open, pouring rain over the city, thunder rolling like drums. I was packing up to leave when Drew called me. "Jane," he said urgently, "you need to come to the racetrack. It's Alex. He's out of control." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "He's been riding in the rain for hours, like he's trying to kill himself. Please, he won't listen to anyone. You're the only one who can stop him." I didn't want to go. Every part of me screamed that it wasn't my problem anymore. But before I knew it, I was already running into the storm. The racetrack was chaos. Rain hammered the asphalt, turning it into a slick death trap. And in the middle of it all, a red and black motorcycle roared, tearing through the downpour. Alex, he leaned hard into the turns, the wheels skidding dangerously close to the edge. Once, twice, 3 times he spun out, crashing into the wet grass, only to get back up and ride again. "Stop him," I shouted to Drew. "We tried." Drew's face was pale. "He won't stop. He's breaking himself on purpose." I couldn't watch anymore. I ran onto the track, rain soaking me to the bone, my hair plastered against my face. When Alex came around the bend, he saw me. His eyes widened, and at the last second, he slammed the brakes. The bike screeched, fishtailing violently, before collapsing onto its side. He stumbled to his feet, drenched, blood trickling from a cut on his cheek. And then he laughed. A broken, bitter laugh. "See? You still care. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here." I wanted to scream at him, to tell him he was insane. Instead, I shoved a piece of paper into his chest. It was damp from the rain, but the words were still clear. The certificate for the star he had once registered in my name. "I don't want this," I said coldly. "It doesn't mean anything anymore. It's gone, just like us." For the first time, I saw all the light drain from his eyes. He stared at the paper like it was the last thread holding him together. His lips trembled. "Even the star is gone." His voice cracked. He sank to his knees, rain mixing with his tears. "Then what do I have left?" he whispered. I stood over him, my chest aching, my throat burning with unshed tears. "You still have a future?" I said softly. "But not with me. Not anymore." He looked up at me, desperation etched into every line of his face. "Punish me if you want. Hate me. But please, don't leave me again." I shook my head slowly. "Alex, a broken mirror, even if glued back together, will still cut you when you touch it. That's what we are. Broken, no matter how much you try to fix it. The edges will always bleed. And with that, I turned away. I didn't look back, not even when I heard him whisper into the storm, "Jane, be happy." The next morning, I boarded my flight back to Italy. I told myself it was the end, that I could finally move on. But life has a cruel way of proving otherwise, because Alex wasn't done with me, and neither was fate. I thought leaving would solve everything. When my plane touched down in Italy, I told myself it was over. The rain, the racetrack, Alex on his knees begging me to stay. All of it was behind me now. But endings aren't always that clean. Because just when I thought I had escaped, fate shoved us back together again. The villa project. That was the string that pulled me back. 6 months after the storm, the Herb Institute assigned me as the lead landscape designer for a massive project, 50 acres of land carved into the side of a mountain. It was the kind of job people dream about their whole lives. But when I walked into the conference room for the first joint meeting, the air shifted. Whispers, stares, familiar faces, and then Alex. He was standing at the head of the table, sharp suit perfectly tailored, his presence commanding as always. His company had been contracted for the architectural design. The room fell silent when our eyes met. It felt like 6 years ago all over again. Some of his colleagues clearly hadn't known I would be there. I caught Lisa's replacement, another assistant, gasp under her breath. Drew looked awkward, rubbing the back of his neck like he'd seen a ghost. And Alex? His expression barely shifted. Just the faintest flicker of shock in his eyes, gone as quickly as it came. "Let's begin," he said smoothly, as if nothing had happened. But under the table, his hands clenched into fists. Working together again was torture. Every site visit, every design meeting, every small decision meant standing side by side, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him. He tried to stay professional, at least in front of others. But when we were alone, his facade cracked. "Jane," he said one night as we reviewed the irrigation plans, his voice hoarse, "why do you act like I don't exist? Like what we had never happened?" I didn't look at him. Because if I admit it happened, I'll remember everything, and I can't afford to break twice. Silence. When I finally glanced at him, I saw it, pain flickering across his face, raw and unguarded. For once, he didn't argue. He just let me walk away. But the universe didn't let us keep our distance. One afternoon, as I inspected the far end of the site, a sharp sting shot through my ankle. I looked down and froze. 2 tiny puncture marks. Snake bite. Panic surged through me. I tore off my hair tie, tying it above the wound to slow the venom. My voice cracked as I shouted for help. And then Alex was there. He didn't hesitate. He scooped me into his arms, sprinting toward the truck, his face pale with terror. "Hold on," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Not again. Please, not again." At the hospital, the doctor said it was a venomous species, but not lethal. I'd be fine with treatment. But Alex, I had never seen him like that before. His hands shook as he clutched mine. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice raw. "Don't you dare leave me," he whispered. "Not like before." Later I discovered the truth. The snake shouldn't have been there. It wasn't native to the area, and someone had released it deliberately. Suspicion immediately pointed to Lisa, but she was already out of the picture. This time, it was someone else. Another rival, another shadow from Alex's chaotic world. For me, it was proof of one thing. Being near Alex meant danger, and I couldn't live like that. The weeks dragged on. My ankle healed, the project progressed, but my heart stayed restless. Every night, I told myself I hated him. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face when he carried me. The fear, the desperation, the way he held me like I was the only thing keeping him alive. And I wondered, Was it possible? Could the bet that once destroyed me have somehow turned into love? Then came the night everything broke again. It was late. The others had gone home. I was gathering my notes when Alex appeared at the door. "Jane," he said softly, "can we talk?" I sighed. There's nothing left to say. But he stepped closer, his eyes burning. There's everything left to say. You think I don't know I ruined us? You think I don't wake up every day wishing I could take it back? I froze. His voice cracked as he continued. That bet, it was the stupidest mistake of my life. At first, it was a game. I admit that. But then it wasn't anymore. And by the time I realized, it was too late. Tears stung my eyes, but I bit them back. Too late is still too late, I whispered. He reached for me, his hand trembling. Please, just give me one more chance. I pulled away. Alex, love built on betrayal doesn't survive, no matter how much you want it to. His hand fell to his side, his shoulders slumping. For the first time, I saw him look defeated. I walked away that night thinking it was over. But fate wasn't finished with us yet, because just when I thought I had buried him for good, he did something I could never forget. Something reckless. Something that nearly cost him his life. The villa project was nearly complete. Deadlines were met, designs approved, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was standing on solid ground again. But Alex was unraveling. I could see it in the way he lingered too long at the office, the dark circles under his eyes, the restless energy in his movements. Something was coming, and deep down, I knew it wouldn't end quietly. The night it happened, a storm rolled over the mountains. Thunder cracked across the sky as I packed my sketches, ready to leave. My phone buzzed. Drew. Jane? His voice shook. It's Alex. He's at the Cliff Road. He's racing again, in this weather. My heart dropped. What? Why? He said, if he can't win you back, he doesn't want to live with the regret. Please, come before it's too late. The Cliff Road was notorious. Sharp turns, no guardrails, slick when wet. One wrong move and you'd plummet into the ravine. When I arrived, headlights carved through sheets of rain. Engines roared, tires screeched, and then I saw him. Alex. His motorcycle tore through the darkness, weaving dangerously close to the edge. The rain made the road shine like glass. Stop him, I screamed, but the others just shook their heads. We tried. He won't listen. I didn't think. I just ran. I stumbled into the road, waving my arms, rain blinding me. Alex's eyes widened as he came around the bend. He yanked the brakes, the bike skidding wildly. For a second, I thought he'd crash straight into me. But at the last second, he twisted the handlebars, sending the bike sliding sideways. He tumbled across the asphalt, rolling until he slammed into the barrier. I rushed to him, my knees scraping the wet ground. Alex. My voice cracked. He groaned, blood mixing with rain on his face. His hand reached up, trembling, grasping mine. Jane. His voice was hoarse, broken. Why won't you believe me? Why won't you see? I don't care about the bet anymore. I only care about you. Tears blurred my vision. Because you destroyed me, I whispered. And I can't. I can't go back. The ambulance arrived. They strapped him onto a stretcher, his grip on my hand never loosening until they forced him to let go. I stood there, drenched and shaking, watching as the sirens carried him away, and for the first time, I realized something terrifying. No matter how much I hated him, no matter how hard I tried to bury it, I still loved him. Days later, I visited him in the hospital. He was bandaged, pale, but alive. When he saw me, his lips curved into the faintest smile. "You came." I stayed silent. He reached weakly for my hand. "Jane, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But please, let me spend the rest of my life making it up to you." I looked at him, my heart tearing in two. Part of me wanted to walk away forever, to protect myself, to never risk being hurt again. But another part, the part that had loved him since college, the part that still burned no matter how much I smothered it, that part wanted to believe. 6 years ago, Alex broke me with a bet. 6 years later, he nearly broke himself trying to win me back. Maybe it was foolish. Maybe it was dangerous. Maybe it would scar me all over again. But as I sat there, holding his trembling hand, I realized something. Sometimes, the people who hurt us most are the ones we can't let go of. And maybe, just maybe, this time, I would let him try. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Your support helps me keep creating more content for you. See you in the next video.